But welcome in, excited to have everybody. And so today's class, we're covering getting the most out of your website and website best practices. And so just some housekeeping items is if you ever have questions throughout the presentation, we love to run these classes collaboratively. So feel free to use the raise hand option on your dash, or you can also put in the chat some questions, and I'll be monitoring the chat. And yeah, so anytime, and then feel free, if you've learned things that worked well for your website and you'd like to share that too for others to learn from, feel free to put that in the chat or mention that as well. And so next slide, we have two hosts of this class series. And so one is the program that I run called Keep It Local Columbia County. And we're a program that promotes people to shop, taste, play, and buy locally here in Columbia County. And so most well-known people know our social media. So we have a Facebook page and Instagram page that people can find local news. So whenever there's a new business, or just I like to share random businesses I find, or if you ever want to have some news that we to share, you can do that and contact me and we share for free. Additionally, we have a business and events website directory. And so we're actually launching the new one next week, which is super exciting. And so once that launches, feel free to add yourself onto it. And that's like a great place to also, as we're talking about websites, have your business be listed in multiple locations. And so, you know, we're always trying to beat Google and have like multiple options so that your business doesn't get buried. So if you are on that website directory, that's a great tool to get found. And then additionally, we do seasonal generating campaigns for local commerce. And so last year for the holidays, we captured $559,000 of local spending with our Keep It Local for the Holidays campaign. And so that's a little bit about our program. And then I'll hand it off to Jason to talk about our other host.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jason Moon. I'm the director of the Columbia County Small Business Development Center. Today's a pretty special day. It's 1 year of the SBDC officially. I came on 1 year ago, and we've started up this center from scratch. We're the 20th center in Oregon, but we're the only center that's not affiliated with the community college. So our stakeholders are each city and Columbia County. Within the county, we offer all free programming, free one-on-one confidential business advising. I help you with business planning and management of those business plans, marketing plans, strategies, loan packaging, access to capital and grants, you name it. So if you have any small business needs, you just want to talk about next steps or growth or any of those things, feel free to reach out. My contact information, I think, is at the end of the presentation. We'll make sure that you have that. So thanks, everyone, for being here today.
Great, thank you. And my name is Jen Urban. I am with Pioneer Utility Resources. I'm a senior account manager, so I'm going to be co-hosting as well today our great presentation that we hope you will get a lot out of on websites. So I'm not a native of Oregon, but I did live in Portland as a child. So we were talking about that earlier, but I currently live in Waco, and I've been in the field for 20 plus years. So I'm excited to be here with you guys today and learn with you. So with that, we were just hoping to get to know a little bit more about you guys today. So we would love if you would put your name and your business organization name in the chat, and something that you hope to learn about today regarding websites, just because we would love to make sure we cover everything that you're hoping to get out of this course today.
So we have Jessica, who owns Lens Portraits, and she would love to learn what draws people to your website, for example, layout ideas. So yeah, I think we have a slide discussing that. Sam, a visual artist, hoping to get more helpful tips on newsletters, social media, SEO, you name it.
Great.
And then Marianne is from the Library of Klatskanai, and she can't think of one single thing, just looking for best practices. And then Christine is from Submissive Stone, a lapidary and jewelry design. And she's had a website for years and has never really utilized it. So any information would be great. Sweet. Well, thank you everyone for putting in. Feel free to put in the rest of the chats for those that haven't responded yet, because we definitely would like to use that to make this presentation geared towards your needs. Oh, one more. Bonnie always learns something new from these classes, seeking exhaustive user experiences. Sweet. Oh, thank you. I'm going to hand it back to Jennifer, so we'll roll right in, but let's definitely learn some of these things to get some answers.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've got some great answers, and you'll definitely get what you were hoping to get out of this. And I'll make sure to kind of touch on some of the things you guys just mentioned, so that you'll have some great takeaways. So let's dive into how to get the most out of your website. There's 7 great ways your website can grow your business. So who is this for? Literally any business owner. So all of you, this is geared right for you. From restaurants to accountants to laundromats, every business needs a professional website. A website builds your business credibility. It gives you a 24/7 online presence, which we know is very important in the world that we're in today. And when optimized, it generates organic traffic and sales for your business. So our first tip is branding. And I know that this was a previous class that we had, where we discussed a lot of this, but you want to make sure your website is modern, on brand, and truly representative of your business. So when that user clicks on your website, they get a clear picture of who you are and what you're about. Your website is the face of your business, so it's kind of almost the most important thing in today's day and age, and you want to make sure you don't neglect it. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you have very purposeful, engaging, and easy to read content. And everything that goes on your website should meet those. So you don't, of course you want to build a website with information, but you want that information to be useful, not just fluff. So when they go, they can find what they need, they can easily navigate it, and it's something that they will use and come to for all their needs. So people do come to your website to learn more about you. So we don't want to overwhelm them with useless bits of information. So you really want to tailor and trim down your website to just what you offer, so that they know what to look for, and make sure that it's easy to find. So that would mean not a lot of text, more graphics, bullet points, very easy things for your users on your website to find information. So a few pro tips for that is you want to say goodbye to walls of text if you happen to have that on your website, because that's where you lose people. Websites are not the same as novels, and a lot of people, they're coming and they just, in today's world, they need that information quickly at their fingertips. They don't have a lot of time. So you want to keep your copy on your website short, concise, and easy to skim read. Which is why bullets are good, or small chunks of text. A huge chunk of text will only get you a high page abandonment rate, which we don't want. So a few essential elements. 62% of people considered contact information to be crucial. So if you don't have that About Us page or that contact page on your website, you want to make sure after today's class that you really update that. It's likely to be the most second popular page on your website other than your landing page, and you can use it to build trust. 20% of people consider customer testimonials as a way to take your website to another level as well. So you definitely want to update it About Us with all your contact information, links to social if you have it, ways to get in contact with you, email, phone, address. And then if you've got some testimonials that you can put on your website as well, that would be on a separate page from Contact Us, is how I would recommend it, that people can feel more comfortable about your product and see that, other customers have found your product to be exactly what they were looking for. And Fourthly, 27% say it's important to use original photos and videos on your website if you can. So of course, stock photos are great, but anything that really shows the product you're offering, the service you're offering, you know, real pictures of yourself, who you are, your services, the products you offer. That's kind of what we do here at Pioneer. We consider ourselves storytellers. So you really want your website to tell your story. So you want it to be as personalized and as close to you as possible, because that builds authenticity, because users can tell if they come to your website and they just see lots of stock photos, and it kind of sometimes makes them question. So even if it's, you know, not the world's greatest photo, it's okay if it's, you know, authentic and original. We found that users resonate with that more than a beautiful stock image. And luckily today's iPhone takes pretty decent pictures. So it's a good way to put those up on your website.
I'll chime in too for a moment, Jen. So 2 points here. When I was researching a lot of the things like why people find importance in websites and why do they even go to websites, and the running theme I was finding article after article is that people really use websites to find credibility of businesses and build trust. And so that's definitely like what you want. Like when you look at some of these points that was found in this survey, it's really just kind of points of trust that people can like feel like you're a real business, a relatable business that they can actually trust to go to. And so that's why people value those about us pages. Like even the pictures, you could see an argument that, oh, that's an actual business, it's not stock imagery. And so I was kind of surprised that was one of the biggest reasons why people like websites, but it really shows you one of the importance of it. And then the other point too is that if you're looking to build up your photos and videos and make original content, and you want really nice ones for your website or other marketing materials, we actually have, and I'll talk about a little bit later, we have discounted local photographer and videographer packages available right now that you can look at and see if you want to book with.
That's awesome. Yeah. So then you could get really great updated, unique photos for your website. Okay, great. So our next tip is the one that most people ask about is SEO, search engine optimization. And that is, you know, where Google is king. I actually took a course on SEO where they put the formula at the time that Google used to figure out what websites get shown more. And it was like 4 pages long. And it didn't really make any sense, but the key takeaway from it was when those users come to your website, you want a very clear description of what your product is. So when they search for that, whatever it is they're searching for, that keyword will hit, it will be on your website. You also want a previous class we had was Google My Business, which is a great presentation to revisit if you weren't able to make that, but you want to fill out all the data you can from Google about your business. Make sure that you've got a Google business page, make sure your website is listed there. Make sure your website is updated frequently. That does count into part of that equation that Google uses. Make sure you're creating relevant content. And that goes back to the trust that Sierra was talking about. Those unique photos and videos and keywords. And if you write a blog, that's another great way. If you link the blog to your website, because your blog is going to talk about things that your business does, and all those words will be linked to your website as well. And so that is a great way to also improve your SEO. And another tip from, you know, that when I was able to go to that course where they had the 4-page long formula was, you know, you want everything on your website to be very clear and concise and no waste. But if you're able to have more than 1 or 2 pages, that does help as well as part of the equation. So, of course, you would have your landing page, your contact us page, if you can get a testimonial page, that would be great, because probably what those people are saying might be some of the keywords that people are searching for on their search engines. You can get another page about your products. If you link your blogs, all of that helps. The more information as possible, and make each one a different page with easy to find information that's concise and clear, easy to scan and read quickly and click, and again, not those big walls of text. That helps a lot. So to get the most out of your SEO, it does take some time to learn, of course, but it is a fantastic investment. So of course, Google's number one, they're king, they're your lead generator. So you want to make sure that, for example, I know we've got a portraits business, any keywords that someone might Google looking for portrait, you want to make sure those words are on your website. Or I know we have, jewelry design and some of those other businesses. Anything you could think that your customer might Google, you want to make sure those words appear on your website, so that when they Google your business, that your website will come up. And again, that's why like linking your blog is a great thing to do if you have one to your website, and just making sure you've got a lot of clear, concise information about your products.
A question in chat is, what's the best way to integrate a blog into a create your own website, i.e. Wix?
That's a good question. I know there's so many different blog websites out there. So there's some really great free ones. And I don't know if you guys have, some resources for that, Sierra. But you can easily link. Most websites will let you link your blog to your website, and have it appear, either at the bottom or as a separate page. Are there some that you guys have found to keep it local that are great for small businesses?
We use WordPress instead of Wix specifically, and it has that integration where you can do a blog. But I believe every custom template allows you to add your own blog. I've seen it with most things, and I would highly suggest having a blog, as we talk about like SEO, because again, Google prefers new content and continuously updating pages. So a blog is actually one of the best ways to do that. And so that whenever you have new news, maybe a new announcement or a new menu or a new product or any of those type of things, you can make a blog all around it. And then that will be like Google, once you post that on your website, Google will see that and be like, oh, wow, new content, rank you higher. And then you'll get up in the rankings more. Additionally, the nice thing about blogs is that you can also take a lot of that content and then disperse it into your other marketing resources. So maybe you create a blog that's, say, a new product that you have. And so you make this whole portion for that product. And then you could take like little sentences out of that and make it for your Facebook page and Instagram page. And so it's kind of a way that you can be on top of all your marketing at once and save yourself some time, while also like maximizing SEO. But yes, as far as I understand, I think every custom template usually allows you to just add that in there.
Yeah, and I would add that Wix has some pretty good tutorials on how to do that. Most of the do-it-yourself, whether you're using WordPress or Squarespace or Wix, they have really good tutorials on how to create and develop blogs and link them to your site.
And I think that was a really good point you made too, Sierra, kind of on that, because as small business owners, we know how busy everyone is. So it can be overwhelming because you think, oh, I have to make social and I have to do a blog and I have to have a website. But you can take your blog and, like Sierra said, link that to your website, improve your SEO, repurpose some of those sentences for your social media post. Use that information for a monthly email or e-newsletter. So, if you've got one blog, you can turn that into several pieces of marketing materials quickly and easily without having to feel like you're having to start from scratch each time. Are there any more questions or? Okay. Well, great. Next tip is design matters. Of course, that was one of, I know Sam asked about some visual helpful tips. So if you can invest in a professional website developer, which can get pricey, you can make a great website on some of the, like WordPress or some of the other ones that Jason just mentioned. And you can even just spend up to $50 on a premium template and get a really nice looking website. And it doesn't have to be an art project. It's just the face of your business. You want it to be clear and simple and concise. So you don't have to have, breathtaking artwork, but you do want it to look fresh and modern and new. Use colors that are easy to read when they come to your website. Make sure you choose photos that support your branding. So if there's a look that you're going for, try to keep that consistent branded look. Try to get updated photos that you have taken yourself of your products or your services and videos, and keep it simple. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, and like, again, working smarter. Take that blog and repurpose it, make your website very easy to navigate. People will visit it more often and it will be a lot more useful for you. So a few design considerations are, if you look at, for example, that picture on the left, people's eyes start in the left corner when they come to visit your website. So that is a great place to put your value proposition or anything that you really want the user that comes to your website to see first. Put it up there in that top left corner. So if, for example, you had a holiday sale or some event happening that you wanted to put on a page of your website, that would be a great place to put the banner or to put an alert to make sure that it's seen. And then, of course, priority 2 kind of shows you that it's in the middle sections of the screen. And then the part that don't catch people's eyes as much is kind of the bottom and the right side, because we tend to read from left to right. And in studies, it was also found that people read in F patterns. So that's why it's very important to have your menu at the top. Horizontally would be a great place to put it, or left vertically when you are thinking about laying out your page. So those are some great visual helpful tips that should help your website be more user-friendly. Our next tip is, of course, we want to generate action. That's our main purpose of our website. And remember, your website isn't just for fun. It's one of the most powerful marketing assets in today's world. So again, you need your website to be purposeful, and make sure there's a strong call to action that people can take when they come there. So a great way to do that is with buttons. And again, you can put those at the top and use strong verbs like buy now or buy here if you're selling something. Or if it's a service, you could put a button for that they can click. And a great place to put that would be that top left corner. And lead the website visitors to the pages that you want. So if there's a certain page, if you've just updated your blog or you've just added some new materials to your website, on that landing page, a great thing to do would make a kind of a call to action button to let them know what's new. Because again, the more you can update your website, the better that shows to Google. Are there any questions or?
I'm gonna add a comment on this. I think oftentimes we forget that a call to action is one of the most important parts of a website. And actually, some of you may remember from the social media class, this was something mentioned in one of the very first slides, is to have a clear call to action also on social media. And basically, like, So oftentimes I think when we market, we like share news, but we forget to point people where to like learn more or get engaged. And so you want your website to share news and create those authentic connections with people, but you also want to be sure to be pointing them to where you want them to go. So if you had an e-commerce site, it should be pretty clear on the very first page towards the top, as we saw in the last slide that talked about F patterns. Have it somewhere up there that shows like, oh, here's a go to e-commerce and see everything. Or if you had if you wanted to have them donate, if you're a nonprofit, whatever your call to action is, make sure that's really up there on the top. And for example, right now, as I've been working everything with the Keep It Local website that we're about to launch next week, one of the number one things that our web developers are telling us is like, you want this to be like the very first thing people see. So our call to action is trying to get people to go into the directory and explore local businesses and organizations. And so the very first thing you'll see on the new website is a search bar right at the top, so that it just immediately prompts you to go right into that. And so in addition, like when people review websites, people do scroll, but it's whatever's at the top is what people spend the most time on. And then they start to kind of glaze as they scroll down. So again, that call to action should be right at the top, really easy accessible. Don't explain it too much. Just make it like pretty simple for them to jump right in.
Yes, that's a very, very important thing to remember. So make sure if you don't feel like when you visit your website after today's course that there is a strong call to action, that you want to make sure you add that so that your users know what it is that you're trying, whether you're selling something or you want them to like visit a certain page, like Sierra mentioned, that's there so that they can take that action. And our next tip is, of course, think about your customer. And you want to always have them in mind. Think about if you were your customer coming to your website, what would you want to see? How would you want it laid out? What would be the most useful for you? So again, we've kind of touched on this earlier, but you want to make sure that you're asking yourself, who will use my website? And think of that end user in mind. What will they be looking for? And make sure that they can easily find it. What would they want to know? Again, that about us, make sure you've told your story about your products or your services, and then that you've got clear, concise messaging about each product or service. What do I want my customer to do? That strong call to action, and how can I persuade them to do that? And this is one of, I think one of the most important tips is now we're in the mobile revolution where everyone's got a device, a mobile device. And not all websites translate as well on a mobile device, but that is where we're finding most users check websites. So 60% of website traffic comes from mobile devices, which means that you must make sure your site is responsive. I know that it's very frustrating when I'm trying to do something on my phone and it doesn't work because the website is great if you're on your desktop or your laptop, but not so great when you're on your mobile device. And it has caused me at times, I think, to not complete the action that I was hoping, whether it was, purchasing something or looking at something, because it's really hard to do. And so I'll tell myself, well, I'll do that later. And then we know in today's busy world that sometimes that later might not ever come for your customers. So if they've come to your website, you want to make sure that they get what they need at their fingertips. So you really want to make sure that when you have designed your website, that it is responsive if they visit your site on their phone, especially if you have an e-commerce shop. So I think we've touched on most everything that you guys asked about earlier, but we want to kind of touch base again and see if there's any more questions that you have or some more information that we can provide you so that you can take this back and really be prepared to improve your website to help your business.
I'm just curious how many people here in the room today have a website already and who's looking to build their first website.
I have a website already. I'm actually building a new one right now. So
And so you're building your second version or a completely different site? Okay.
well, I'm rebranding. So I guess it's like a second version, but it's also completely new.
With the branding, is it a new URL or are you still keeping the same website? It's just a total refresh.
It's a new new
Okay.
brand name, everything's new.
Everything.
It's way better.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, reading through the chat, it sounds like everybody seems to have one or is working on one, which is good timing to have this presentation then for people like you, Sam, that are working on one. Cool. It's here. Yeah, happy to hear that those are everybody has some websites or working on one to have this be applicable. Is there any tips or questions that people further want as you're working to build or update your current site?
So I'm really curious about Aiden's website, Beth. What what's going to be included on his website?
So it's
And
hard because I was what we were just talking about was all business, right? And so he has to brand himself and kind of like act like a business when it comes to money, but his website's going to be more informational. So he'll have an about me page, his acting resume, a photo gallery, maybe some reels, and then the reason I was asking about the blog is that all of that stuff is pretty static except when he changes out his headshots. And so I was going to suggest to him to write a blog about, what he's currently working on or a class that he went to, or like he just got cast for 5 different parts in his school play. And so he has to characterize all of those different characters differently for one production. And I think that it'll be interesting for him to like talk about how he's going to do that. So that's what his is going to be, more informational. And then once he has more experience with directors and coaches, I think I'll ask him to put like a testimonial or how I've worked with this student page so that directors know how he works.
awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing his page. So
We just
yeah,
signed up for Wix, so he's working on it every 6th period. I'm really excited about the SEO stuff that you guys shared about how to like getting onto Google. I have to do that for my Amani Center one, but it would be really nice to just start him off correctly from the beginning.
yeah, I feel like SEO is almost its own class, like there's so much to unpack there. But there is a lot of great information, and I feel like it's way more accessible than it's ever been. Back in the early days, you would hire someone specifically just for SEO, and I mean those people are still out there, and definitely resources for businesses. But I think especially with Wix and Squarespace and all of these sort of DIY efforts, you can make great strides through online resources for SEO. And then obviously reaching out to Sierra or myself if you guys have more questions to dig into that.
So some questions that popped up in chat. Where do you go? I've seen pages that scroll to all the information on one single page. You just keep scrolling down. They also have tabs at the top that jump from portion of the page. Are those types of pages okay to have since people tend to view the top left of the page?
I know for our web development team that we have at Pioneer, depending on the length of the page, that's a great tool to have, you know, those tabs, which are almost kind of like call to action buttons at the top, where they can click. And even if it just jumps down the page a little bit, it takes them right to that information, depending on how long the scroll is. I mean, if it's just, they just scroll a few and it takes you down. But if they're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, then that's probably when you need to make a separate page. But I think those tabs, we found that those have been very helpful, just because people are coming and you want something that's going to grab their eye immediately. So if they're like, I'm here for this, like one user might be here for one reason and one might be for another. But if you've got 5 of them listed at the top and they can click those and easily get that information. And it's fine if it just jumps it down on the page, as long as it's not like an excessive jump. If the page is incredibly long, I would suggest, you know, making a second page on your website, but those are very helpful. So that's a great tactic to have on your website.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like the look and feel of those one-page sites, but as long as there's not an infinite scroll, it's kind of nice too if you do have those buttons up top where it allows the user to jump around a little bit, and then they tend to scroll back up to the top, so then they're looking at whatever might be that piece in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just checking a few other comments in the chat. And Sierra just posted a great guide in the chat to Google's, it's Google's guide to SEO. So that's a great thing to click on and kind of reference as you're looking at your website as well.
I think we've answered the questions in chat, but if there are more or missed any, feel free to unmute or throw more in. Sweet. Well, then I think we could transition to the next slides, and feel free to if people have more questions, like we're not cutting you off. And so if you click the button one more time. So this is the Marketing for Success series. So we've had our last few classes, like the marketing plan for a new year, which Jason put on. And so that was a fun class. A marketing 101 class, Facebook class, and then today's website class. All of these have been recorded and you can find them on our website. And so I put that link up above earlier. And so if you ever want to watch any of the recordings from this series or the fall series we did, feel free to go onto our website and find the recordings there. And then we have one more class left in the series. And so next week, we're going to have a local panel of speakers, including a speaker from Sassa Home, which is a business in St. Helens. And I think there was 2 other people, but we're going to confirming those for sure. But they'll be speaking to what they've done for their e-commerce site, what's worked for them, what things have not worked for them that they would suggest avoiding. And so that will be kind of a more interactive class, just based around their experiences on selling online. And additionally, the week after, we're really excited. So part of the feedback we got from our fall series is that people really wanted to have more hands-on activities, and that's the parts of the series people most enjoyed. And so we have a whole week dedicated to that. And so, for instance, we are doing the professional photos and videos. I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. And so we'll cover that more. And then additionally, you can schedule a free one-on-one appointment with a local social media consultant. And so we have multiple people that are able to do those. And so if you're on our newsletter, you should be able to see the links to our or book with, or additionally later today, you can go on that same website page on our page and book with them there. And additionally, I'm about to update it on Eventbrite today too. And so you can find that link. And so all the links, there's someone to book with in person one-on-one in Scappoose. St. Helens has 2 people that you can book with. I'll be in Clatskanie that you could book with me. And yes, those are our bookings. And so if you want one-on-one time to talk through your Facebook page and Instagram page and ask specific questions about what you can do to improve, feel free to book with one of us. It's free. And then additionally, as we mentioned, our website will be launching next week. And so we will be having the opportunity that if you add your business or organization onto it for free before March 17th, then you enter for a chance to win a $250 gift card to a local business of your choice. And so, so not only do you get a chance to win money, but it's also a great free marketing tool for your business. And so those are some of our hands-on activities next week. I see a question from the Imani Center. So I'll pause really quick before I jump to the next slide.
Thanks, Sarah. Sorry, I'm driving, so you don't get my face back. But I actually had a question regarding if you guys can compare the effectiveness of the blog, like linking a blog to a website versus having a page that's like a newsletter page where you just kind of like push a constant contact newsletter out to it. Do they search the same, or do they indicate like an update the same way with SEO?
I do not know that. I'll see if maybe Jen or Jason knows.
I don't know specifically, but I can research that and get that back. I would think that they would probably perform somewhat similarly, as long as, you know, when you, because it's shown to Google, like, you know, it's just bots that are checking your web, you know, doing all of this. So it shows as a website update, whether it's a blog or your newsletter. But I would just make sure that where you have your newsletter, it's easy, you know, accessible and easy to read. And, you know, isn't all the text dumped on the page, where maybe it's like clickable with a header that says, you know, and a great graphic that they can click on, and then they read more for each newsletter, which is kind of what the blog does, like that, the layout of the blog. But I can research, unless you've got some insight, Jason.
Yeah, I have, Beth. Is it being pushed to the site? And how is it, like Jen said, is it text and photos, or is it an attachment or a link? Because the words matter. So if for SEO, if it's taking the content of that and actually, you know, creating a blog post, so to speak, then it would act and perform in the same way. But if it's just an attachment, it wouldn't.
So really, we need to make sure that if we're doing it with our newsletter, making sure that all of that content like gets moved over to the website, not just a link.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then just when you lay it out, I would just be really conscious of, which you might already have this, not posting, you know, massive blocks of text, but, you know, like a link, you know, a header with a great graphic, and then they can click it and read more. And maybe it shows the last 10 newsletters you have. I just recently went to a website, and I found that really helpful, because I could just kind of be like, ooh, I wanted to learn this, this, and this. So let me read this one first, and then I'll read these other 2. But if it was just, if they were all laid out on the page, I would have never gotten to those other ones, because it would have been too much text.
Agree. The format really matters. And I've seen people put an image of the newsletter on there, and that it just doesn't perform the same way. And like Jen's saying, they'll just have a page that has dozens and dozens of images of their newsletter down, and nobody's going to read those.
Sounds like I have some research to do about looking at newsletters on websites.
And Beth, I can send you some stuff on that too.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. That's a great question. And I bet there's tools also like for integration to make it a little easier. I wouldn't be surprised because oftentimes those MailChimp or Constant Contact integrate with so many different things. On the next slide, this slide shows a little bit of the different photographer and videographer options available. And so we now have this live. I'll throw the chat here so you can see the packages more specifically. Oh, looks like I posted the image of it. Fancy. Here, I'll put that link again after I talk a little bit. But so we have 4 different photographers and videographers that we partner with locally, and they're offering specially discounted packages. And so if you want to get some photos and videos to make your website nice and clean and professional, and again, more original content, these are the options that they're offering. And so the first one is Lost Locals Media. They have a photo shoot option, a videography option. And then additionally, if you're trying to look into making a logo or graphic design, they're offering a special package around that, and one for creating a website. And so maybe you've heard today's presentation, you're like, okay, I need a web developer to help me. They're offering a special package on that too, and it's all discounted at 20% off. And if you book before the 17th, then they're great. And then Jessica's in the room. So yes, Jessica has her photography option, includes a headshot. So if you're looking for headshots, that's great for the About section to show who you are. And additionally, we have Dog Bear Productions, a local videographer, and he can help you do a social media video, or you can also book like an hourly rate for website content. So maybe he does drone work as well, and so does Lost Locals. And so you can get drone shots or create a special video about video. And then we also have Grizzly Visions Photography, which is doing a package for $300 for professional photos, and you can get 20 professional photos at that. So these are all opportunities that you can take advantage of. I'm going to really quickly grab that link again so that I can share everybody. Let me grab that really quick. And then Beth, I see that you have a question, so feel free to put that in.
I met with Jessica. Jessica, I don't want to embarrass you, but I met with Jessica after our last class or 2 classes ago, because I used to be a foreign photographer in my old life, and her photography is beautiful. So if you're looking for like really personalized headshots about that, like really brand you and show who you are, she's a wonderful photographer.
That's really nice. Yes, yeah, I definitely wanted to partner with local photographers to make this opportunity available and give people more options to get hands-on. So definitely it's great to have these kind of digital assets on hand so that whenever you maybe want to write a newsletter article, or you want to put something on your website, or maybe all of a sudden you have a spontaneous opportunity that needs these professional kinds of photos, then it's always good to have. So of course, as we've been talking about, like sometimes it's good to just take a picture with your iPhone camera, but other times you need these really nice ones to make a credible, impactful impression onto people. And so I threw that link in chat if you want to look at those opportunities. All of them are now available until the 17th. So including Jessica's, it has a different date, but she updated to the 17th. So if you book any of those packages before March 17th, you can access these special deals. And then the next slide is just us closing out. Thank you everybody for participating. These are our contact information. If you scan that QR code with your iPhone camera, you can also see the last class and additionally more up information. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much for attending, and stay on if you have questions. And Jen and Jason want to say anything before we close out?